Today, we'll be discussing cellular totipotency in plants. Plants exhibit incredible developmental plasticity, allowing them to cope with the physical damages caused by their biotic and abiotic environment. To ensure survival, plants have dedicated developmental pathways to close injuries, to replace lost organs, which have long since been exploited for vegetative plant propagation. Uh, the start of in vitro plant cell and tissue culture research is dated to 1902 when Gottlieb Haberlandt presented his hypothesis on the intrinsic capability of isolated plant cells for autonomous life. So it was also observed that the phytohormones auxin and cytokinins are required for in vitro cell proliferation. High cytokinin to auxin ratio promote shoot growth and low ratio promote root growth, and equal amounts produce unorganized cell masses, that is callus. So callus is a masses of proliferating cells. A callus could regenerate into entire plant through somatic embryogenesis. So this one-step process where a single cell develops into an embryo serves as the experimental proof for totipotency. So totipotency is a plant cell's genetic potential to regenerate an entire plant. The term totipotency was introduced in 1902 by the Australian botanist Gottlieb Haberlandt. National Institute of Health gives two contrasting definitions for the term totipotent. First is capable of developing into a complete organism, or second is differentiating into any of its cells or tissues. So much of the confusion surrounding the term totipotency centers on the important differences between these two definitions. A one cell embryo is totipotent in both the senses, yet some authors characterize tumors and stem cells as totipotent based on the second definition. Uh, to express totipotency, a specialized cell must typically undergoes dedifferentiation and then redifferentiation. In 1958, F.C. Stewart successfully demonstrated totipotency by growing a complete carrot plant from isolated phloem cell cultured in a liquid medium containing coconut milk. So, term differentiation is used in many different senses in biology, and it is defined as the process by which meristematic cells are converted into two or more types of cells, tissues, or organs which are qualitatively different from each other. So, to express totipotency, the specialized cells must typically undergo two processes, dedifferentiation and then redifferentiation. The phenomena of a mature cell reverting to the meristematic state and forming undifferentiated callus tissues is termed dedifferentiation, and the phenomena of conversion of component cells of callus tissues to whole plant or plant organs is called as redifferentiation. So, genesis of an entire plant from cultured explants directly or via callus indirectly is called regeneration. Actually, plant regeneration from a totipotent cell must fulfill two main criteria. First, it must be initiated in an individual cell, since totipotency is a cellular term. And second is it must proceed autonomously as a single process. Whole plants are regenerated from in vitro cultured plant cells either directly or indirectly via organogenesis or somatic embryogenesis. So these processes are not autonomous but needs to be induced. Therefore, one could say that the plant cells can regain totipotency, but they are not totipotent per se. Plant regeneration via several steps obviously does not fulfill the criterion of autonomous development. For example, Plant regeneration via organogenesis includes at least two stages. Either shoot or root is regenerated from the initial cell, and a second induction step is required to regenerate the missing plant part. Not the same cell is forming the shoot and the root. So in these processes, the initial cell of root or shoot development can be considered as pluripotent cells. Indeed, single cells forming embryos are totipotent by definition, since embryos can autonomously develop to whole plants. If all plant cells are totipotent, all plant cells could be able to form somatic embryos. So this is obviously not the case. Although somatic embryogenesis is prevalent, it is confined to define genotype, developmental states, and explants. So similarly to organogenesis, somatic embryogenesis needs induction. So this means that although certain somatic cells might regain totipotency under appropriate conditions, they are not totipotent per se. So recent studies indicate that indirect embryogenesis progresses on surface of embryogenic calli where the reorganization of cell cluster instead of developing from single totipotent cells. So several cellular and molecular steps of development have been revealed in the case of embryogenic Arabidopsis cali. So here we are taking the example of Arabidopsis Callus from Arabidopsis thaliana. So embryogenic calli formed in the 2,4-D containing culture medium, moving them to auxin-free conditions. The endogenous synthesis of auxin is induced. So this synthesis takes place in the peripheral region of the calli via the expression of uh, YUC genes, UCA genes. Subsequently, the synthesis of the pin-formed 1 means pin-1 auxin transport protein is induced, and their organized orientation result in auxin accumulation in the peripheral cell clusters. In between the region exhibiting auxin minima, the genes coding for the virtual WUS meristem identity regulator state to be expressed. So at the early state, the expression of was related homeobox 5, that is VOX5, a master regulator of root meristem organization, partially overlap with that of the WUS. So at the next step, cotyledon primordia get organized at the place of auxin maxima on the on the callus periphery. And at this time, cytokinin accumulation can be detected below the WS expression domain, and WX5 expression is confined to this cytokinin rich region, and the site of VOX5 expression relates with root meristem emergence. In this way, the apical basal axis of the embryo is established before somatic embryos are even visible. So these experimental observations indicate the formation of somatic embryos from groups instead of single callus cells. Just look at this diagram. I'll just repeat the whole process, whatever I have explained now. So just look at this diagram. Embryogenic calli formed in the presence of 2,4-dichlorophenolic acid, that is 2,4-D, are blocked. I can see here in the first diagram, this is callus. So this is blocked in development until the removal of this exogenous artificial auxin. Following 2,4-D removal, just look at the second diagram. Endogenous auxins start to get produced and start to accumulate at the periphery due to the directional auxin transport mediated by PIN1 auxin efflux carrier proteins. Then changes in PIN1 orientation. Just look at this third diagram. Result in auxin accumulation in patches. So you can see here these patches of auxin, green in color. So this green color is showing the presence of auxin, yellow color of cytokinin, pink color WUS expression, blue color WX5 expression, and direction of the these arrows are showing the direction of auxin flow. So this when cotyledon primordia. So first, changes in pin 1 orientation result in auxin accumulation in patches. Where? At the callus surface, in between, at auxin minima. So these region where the arrows are present, this is auxin minima region. So the expression of was transcription factor appears, and the that partially overlap with WX5. I can see here. Now, cotyledon primordia, it get organized and at auxin maxima, and the organizing center of the shoot meristem forms from the cells expressing WUS. So root meristem dwells from the region accumulating cytokinin and expressing WOX5. So embryos can form from single somatic cells. It cannot be ruled out, as plants has the inherent capability to develop totipotent cells in their soma. So, somatic embryogenesis was often reported to start with the asymmetric cell division, resembling that of the zygote, and following the asymmetric division of zygote in the case of Rhabdopsis thaliana, the WOX2 and WX8 transcription factors segregate into the apical and the basal cells respectively, and the resemblance of zygotic and somatic embryogenesis is also supported by the development of degenerated suspensor-like structure in certain somatic embryogenesis system. And the recent transcriptomic comparison indicate that zygotic and somatic embryogenesis can follow rather different pathways, and somatic embryogenesis have a gene expression pattern more like germinating seeds. And that's why the network of transcription factor like baby boom, leafy cotyledon 1, leafy cotyledon 2, then FUS3, abscisic acid insensitive 3, AGL15, guanine seed maturation also plays central role in many somatic embryogenesis system. Next, conclusion. So in conclusion, not all plant cells are totipotent, but under appropriate conditions, certain cells may become totipotent. A cell can be considered as totipotent if it is able to autonomously develop into whole plant via embryogenesis. However, somatic embryogenesis is not strictly reliant on cellular totipotency. Theoretically, the development of embryos from somatic cells can initiate in at least three main ways. First is direct embryogenesis from single cells through a totipotent stage. Second is direct or indirect embryogenesis dependent on the embryo identity transcription factors. And third is organization of embryos from group of cells. It dependent on auxin and cytokinin gradient. Application of plant totipotency. Plant totipotency plays a vital role in clonal propagation, in genetic engineering, for production of virus-free plants, disease-resistant plants, for germplasm conservation, for somatic hybridation, for haploid production, and also for production of secondary metabolites. Thank you.